Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 45. Let's jump into things. So, kind of kicking things right off the bat, we've got some incoming trade from Ulm. We have received 5 lightless lanterns. This is part of a trade that we did, I think, 2 turns ago. I think Ulm had to take a turn to actually collect all of them. But yeah, so another 5 lightless lanterns for I think 20 nature gems. Perfectly fine for us. Happy to, we're not really using the nature for anything. Very happy to get the additional research. So that's really cool. Part and parcel to our whole push to try to catch up on research. Speaking of which, research. So we have completed thaumaturgy for this turn. Which is really, I mean, obviously going up thaumaturgy is going to give us access to a couple of different things later on, depending on how high we go into thaumaturgy, that are all going to be useful for us. But right now, we're just playing for greed, and thaumaturgy 4 gives us aspects and gnome lore, I believe, specifically, right? Because we're just trying to site search all of our territory now. In the hopes that we make bank on gem income and can turn that into something. So we've got that going on. And then we've got some thrones being claimed. So thrones for this turn. Obviously, we, Nazca, have claimed the Throne of Water, but it looks like Naba has also claimed the Silver Throne, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of funny, like, I think last turn, or the turn before that, we were talking about how it's pretty late in the game for thrones to not have been claimed. And boom, people just start claiming thrones. So I think over half the thrones are claimed now. Still slow, I believe, right? Like, I think most games would have most thrones claimed at this point, you know? But it is what it is, no big deal. We did a little bit of site searching. We cast Blood Fecundity, cool. But then we did a little bit of site searching. Harspecs found nothing. Arcane Probing found nothing. Dark Knowledge found nothing. So kind of unfortunate, right? The site searching that we did do didn't find anything. But our actual mechanical or manual site searching, rather, in the Throne Province in Olifa did have some results. So we found an Enchanted Pyre, which is a +1 fire site, and then we found a Mudfield, which is a +1 earth site. So site searching for the turn, fire +1 per turn, and earth +1 per turn. So happy to have that. The fire specifically, obviously, we're going to make use of any gem income that we get, but the fire specifically is going to be something that we could turn into, hopefully, more lightless lanterns, probably. What else do we got going on? Bunch of battles that we have witnessed, but nothing really big going on for us. So we have been raided by Vanheim in Forest of Pine, our little requisite raiding group. No big deal here. We'll lose this PD. So that's a loss. We also attack in Old Man Mountains. This is a single Huron priest. Up against just 1 PD. Okay, we're fine. Always the chance that Huron priest gets sniped, but not this time. And we counter in Thorn Woods. And Thorn Woods is actually, again, this is us actually taking territory rather than just raiding territory back. This is beyond the line that Vanheim said, hey, you can have this stuff, so cool. So as far as battles go for us versus Vanheim, 2 wins and 1 loss for the turn. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. And then we got a bunch of other battles that we kind of watched or witnessed, so let's watch some of those. We've got Ulm. We'll watch these in isolation. Ulm moving against Ashdod, so attacking into the Grey Barrier. This is the big Ulmish army that is intended to move on Ashdod's cap. And it's up against, you know, just some PD here, so easy peasy. Bunch of crossbows, right? Like, bunch of black plate infantry, plenty of mage support. This should do fairly well. Soul Slay, right? A lot of decent stuff in here. 300 units Bunch of bear tribe for, I think, just general protection buffs, I believe is what's going on there. Doing just some point buffing. Adepts of the Golden Order. I think there is a flaming arrows coming out there. A bunch of master smiths for things like Legions of Steel, Strength of Giants, etc., etc. Priest smiths for the same. And then just, you know, it's a quintessential Olmish army. Got a couple of Black Lords, I believe, that also have gear on them for killing thugs or super combatants, so should be good. And then there's also an attack by Olm in the Desert of Visions. And this is just that little Mastersmith Raider that we've seen. Should do just fine. Flesh, Fire Shield. Seems good. Nice. Very solid. So 2 wins for Ulm there. And then we get to witness some fights for Vanheim attacking into Jotunheim. So Van attacks Jotunheim in Yom with the Shipwreckers. But actually runs into a fair amount of both, I think, PD, and this is cool. This is the first appearance of Jotunheim has 2 really awesome super combatant chassis that they are using in this war against Vanheim. They become pretty well known at this point in the game because they're kind of kicking a lot of ass, right? So this is Scotty the Huntress. So she has a chest wound, but she also has Iron Will, hard to kill. And yeah, so she's got Moss Body, and a couple of other things going on with her. I think she does like Moss Body, Personal Regeneration. She's been Body Etherealed by this little Veti hag, right? So that little Veti hag got like right into melee, so I don't know what's up with that, but so that didn't really result in anything out of this individual, the Scotty the Huntress or whatever. But we do know that I'll try to check on the heroes page, right? Or the champions page, because I think we're gonna see her quite a bit actually. What's she at right now? She is at 61 kills in melee. Yeah. And then there's another attack, Vanheim in the Midge Fens. And this is actually a little real Vanheim army, right? A little one, not a crazy one, but this actually has some Vanheers in it. It has some Vans, it has some Einherrs, it's got a little bit of mage support, some simple stuff going on. And it's only up against a little bit of PD, so there's no big deal there. But, yeah, they've got flyers to interrupt buff cycles. They've got Horde of Skeletons. They've got their own buffs, right? Some Body Ethereal, some Strength of Giants, etc., etc. So definitely able to chop up some... We've seen it before, right? We've seen Van chop up Giants when dealing with Ashdod. This can definitely chop up some Jotunheim Giants as well, some Frost Giants as well. So a loss and then a victory for Van. And then Van also attacks in Satala. And Satala is this throne to the northeast of our territory, the one that has all of the Centaur Warriors and all of the Vine Ogres and all of that jazz. And you can see the independent armies are immediately routed by this scout and commander. And it's like, hold up. What's going on there? Van has created some assassins and has assassinated this province, which is really cool. That's a great way to deal with certain difficult provinces. So very, very neat, and also very intimidating to know. So unfortunate. But yeah, Vanheim is able to take this without any real losses, and there you go. Very nice. that's all for the battles this turn. As far as events go, we had an event in Austin Glen. Some seafarers have found a new port of call with lucrative trade. They're bringing home valuable wares and taxes gains have increased. Cool. So we got some increased income in Austin Glen. And then in Dutrandine Expanse, one of our researchers stumbled upon forbidden lore and were cursed. So, one negative and one positive event. Austin Glen income +5, and an Akla got cursed. So, not a big deal, but we will report on it. So, that's events for the turn. And then we discovered some scouts, but we had a bunch of scouts get patrolled out this turn, which is kind of unfortunate. I've been trying to keep our scout quota high, I guess, so that we can kind of see what's going on in the rest of the world. But people are doing a lot of patrolling in this game, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So we might have to start making some more scouts as well. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, what do we have going on this turn? We are working on a couple of different things. We've basically taken all of the territory that we really can take from Ashdod. I would like Desert of Visions, but Ulm already snagged that, so it kind of is what it is. So we are now kind of at the point to where we no longer have actual gains to be made aside from the passage of time and dealing with shit. So we are going to be consolidating into a number of different locations. We're going to be focusing on getting walls up in Olifa and figuring out what we can do against Forgotten Woods, and then kind of like figuring out what our next sort of game plan is. As we are doing this, part of what we're doing is we're consolidating our patrolling. We have patrolling happening in Austin Glen, in Mark, because of the slave markets there, but also because they have gold mines, right? We also kind of want to get a preacher over here, so I'm sending a Huron priest over to Austin Glen to try to get Dominion preached up in Austin Glen. Because if we can do that, we're going to gain a lot of benefit from this gold mine. So we want to try to maximize what we are making from riches from beneath, right? Also potentially going to want to get over here to Neefel and patrol this down as well, because we also have a copper mine over here. Not quite as valuable as a gold mine, obviously, but still relatively valuable, especially if we can get this patrolled down. That would be awesome. We do spy a Ulmish army kind of walking, I think, towards the to the Vanheim territory. So maybe we're going to see Ulm actually move towards the southern locations of Vanheim, but I don't know that that's actually going to happen. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Not a lot of really crazy things going on as far as like movement and that type of jazz. And not really anything as far as like building goes or anything like that. This is a relatively just stable, chill turn. So let's jump over to recruitment real quick. Recruitment, we are doing 2 Aklas, 1 Inca, 1 Hydromancer, 1 Malqui Priest, and 5 Sun Guard. So that's kind of a hell of a lot for recruitment for us in a turn. We are, what are we doing there specifically? Incas, we are trying to get some more. We don't actually have very many Incas. I think we have 4 Inca at the moment. Trying to get up to 5 to 8, I think, is kind of like the goal that I want to have. That might be too pricey for us. But part of what we're doing with the Incas is I want to site search the shit out of my territory. I want to cast a bunch of augury and auspexes, and only the Inca can really do that right now. So that's one of the focuses that we're taking right there. Hydromancers, we will probably be making Hydromancers in Olifa every single turn, or every single chance we get for the rest of the game. So that's just going to continue to happen. Aklas, we are trying to get more Aklas up and running because we need more bodies for research items primarily. And we're picking up Malqui Priests in locations, forts that don't have Malqui Priests yet. We're going to try to probably... so we've got 4 forts right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got another one going up in Olifa, so 5. We're going to try to look for opportunities to get some more infrastructure going up during this time of peace. But we're also going to be looking at putting Malqui priests, multiple Malqui priests in every single fortified location to start generating as many long dead as we possibly can every single turn, right? So that's going to be a very, very big focus in response to that, or kind of like jumping on the back of that, right? Like Nazcan recruits. We have 31 Hatan Runa this turn and 21 long dead warriors this turn. 2 Supayas as well. So we want to get that number for the long dead up to probably around the, in between the 50 to 100 mark, right? Every Malqui is 7. If we give them the little, what's the name of the thing? Do we even have it yet? We have construction 4, yes. Forge. Yeah, Amulet of the Dead. If we give a Malqui this, they will generate 9 long dead instead of 7 long dead, which is, I think, worth it in the long run, but we're not going to be producing these, just like we're not going to be, another thing we could be producing, we could be producing Skull Mentors right now. We're not going to be producing those things because I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a construction run up to 6 so that we can start producing Lightless Lanterns. And then we're going to do a conjuration run up to 8 so we can do Well of Misery. Because I think we want to hold on to the death gems that we have aside from site searching, right? So we want to site search all of our territory for death. Get as high a death and income as we can, bank as much death as we can, and then throw that into a Well of Misery. Well of Misery is going to give us a little bit of money. Cool, great, fine, whatever. But it's also going to allow us to transition, hopefully fully, into a Supaya production, kind of like economy. So we're going to go from that situation where right now we are just so incredibly desperate for money. We want to get up to the point to where we're generating 50 to 100 long dead every turn. We're generating, 20 to 30 Supaya every turn, and we can sustain that, right? Like we want to have the ability to where we've got enough upkeep, free to have that many Malqui priests doing that, and we want to have enough royal Malquis, basically, because that's who we're going to need to do that. Either calling Supayas or actually casting the spell Summon Supaya. So, in our run up Conjuration, right, to get to Well of Misery, we'll hit Conjuration 5, which is where we'll get Summon Huacas and Summon Supayas, so that's just going to be along the way. And first and foremost, we need to run up Construction so that we can fuel our own kind of like production of Lightless Lanterns, because right now we've been relying on Ulm for a very, very long time, and Ulm is still responsive to our trades, but the pricing is becoming less favorable for us, right? And it's becoming weighted with the fact that Ulm has other priorities that they are more interested in. So, like, Ulm is not, throwing us to the wind or setting us aside or anything like that. They've been very responsive, very helpful. But it's always more useful if you can do the thing that you need to do rather than relying on someone to do it for you. So, and we really don't have anything that we're going to be using our fire income for. We don't really have much fire income. I'm hoping through site searching that we're going to be able to get up to, 7, 8, 9 fire income. That would be really nice, but fingers crossed, right? I have notoriously bad luck with fire and air income. We're actually doing really, really good for air for me, right? And it's almost entirely off the back of the whirlwind of Cyclone. Anyways, moving on. Aside from that, so that's just kind of like a little preview of where we're going. Gonna take us 2 turns to get Construction 5 completed. It should take us another 3 turns after that, I think, to get Construction 6. So that's looking at turn 49, right? And And then it's going to be a long run up Conjuration. I'm not expecting us to get to Conjuration 8 until turn 60 or so. I'm going to continue to see if maybe I can trade for some, research items as well as our own production of research items as we get into this. I don't want to start making owl quills, and I really don't want to start making skull mentors because I want to have that really solid bank for Well of Misery, because I'm pretty sure by the time we get there, that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna be closer to like turn 60 or so, and I'm 99% sure this is all gonna be gone, right? Like, or this is all gonna be built full up at that point. There's no way there are just empty slots hanging out at that point. And it's also entirely possible that someone else puts up Well of Misery before us. Well of Misery is a pretty good global. Death is pretty strong, and there's plenty of people in this game that have... I say plenty of people. There's, Jotunheim has access to Death. Vanheim, not so much, right? Yeah, Vanheim does have access to some Death, but it's not especially high Death. I guess, honestly, there's not really that much now. So maybe we don't have to worry about someone really fighting us for Well of Misery, truth be told. Got the... yeah, these lattes. The ancient... Gaijas? I think it's Gaijas. I'm not sure. But these lasses are incredibly strong, and can definitely get very high death, so that is an option. Okay, moving on. We've got some special recruits this turn, 3 wolves, and we're going to be getting our first dire wolf this turn, so that's exciting. Again, I doubt these things are really going to matter in the long run. I'm going to be probably entering sight here in the Tower of the Moon for every turn until the end of the turn, or until the end of the game, into the turn, my god. But I don't know that, even 20, 30, 40 dire wolves are ever going to matter in a situation, but we'll see. Who knows, right? And then to wrap things up, we've got a little bit of rituals. So rituals, 1 augury, 1 auspex, 1 arcane probing, 1 haruspex, and 1 dark knowledge. So, like I said, really trying to throw ourselves into the site searching so that we can just try to hopefully build our gem income and cross our fingers and like if we, in our run up to Conjuration 8, if we can get to the point to where we have 15 income on Astral Pearls, right? Then we can do summon Huacas every single turn. That's pretty big. We get, maybe we get another 5 or so death income, so we're sitting close to like 12 to 15 in that range, and then we throw the 20 up from Well of Misery, then we're sitting... over 30, and then we have that scenario of like, okay, with over 30, what we can do is we can do multiple summon Supayas every single turn, as well as gaining death gems for other usage, right? Because at that point, we'll also be very high in Conjuration. We could do things like Wraith Lords as Raiders. That would be really cool, So we got a couple of pretty decent options there. So yeah, fingers crossed. I don't really know that anything drastic has changed in the game state. I say I don't know that anything drastic has changed in the game state. I think Arco is starting to win out against Vanarus. But I think some of the Coast Guard has been weird, right? Because the Coast Guard has been, there's been a lot of back and forth in the Coast Guard with individuals who are trying to cooperate and make sure that Pelagia doesn't win, but they're also fighting each other, right? Like, Vanheim was in the Coast Guard, but now that Ulm and I have basically kicked Vanheim out of the Ashdod territory, it's like, okay, well, cool. Van's, position is like, I was actually fighting Pelagia, and they were actually fighting Pelagia over this coastline, and now, now they're like, well, now I don't have to do that, I guess. And that's fair. So it's a weird kind of like situation of us trying to work together, some of the nations trying to work together, but also fighting each other at the same time, which I think is just kind of it's how it's going to happen. I know a lot of people how to say this. There is a lot of hot takes. I don't even know that I would call them hot takes. There's a lot of bad blood. There's a lot of strong opinions about underwater nations and how they affect the game state and whether or not they are actually really kind of like fair or not, and how many underwater nations you can have in a game and it be okay. Kind of that concept of like, can you, like, one underwater nation means that underwater nation is unthreatened, right? Sure. But it also means that they're contained to the size of one underwater nation. Two underwater nations means that those two individuals are just going to duke it out and someone is going to win and then be the size of two underwater nations, which is worse than one underwater nation. I think the idea that we had with 3 underwater nations here in this game was that hopefully 3 underwater nations would keep each other busy for a while. And that, I mean, in fairness, that did actually happen. Turn 35 is a while, but now we're just kind of in that interim of everyone's just like, oh god, Pelagia's just being given time to build up and grow and get stronger and research. I think everyone's really kind of expecting that, that concept of like a turn 55, turn 60, really high overcast Arcane Nexus, and Pelagia just kind of turning into this scenario of like, we all can do whatever the hell we want, but Pelagia, we won't be able to touch Pelagia is kind of the general idea that I think a lot of people have. I don't know that I buy into that concept. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely a possibility, but I think that, from what I've seen of the Pelagia player, they want to do things, right? So they keep poking on land and, winning a fight here, losing a fight there, winning a fight here, losing a fight there. There is, I don't know. Obviously, a 3-cap nation period is a big deal. But I don't know that there's anything that we can really do about it as a game. The idea of like, what is it? Seas of Ice, I think, is what it is, right? Yeah, Sea of Ice. The idea of like Sea of Ice was something that keeps getting thrown out, but I don't know. No one really has a great watercaster for that. I guess maybe I kind of do now, if I can get some Hydromancers up and going. I could potentially go that route, but it's a very weird situation where like there's been this kind of like feeling in communications where it's like a lot of people are like, yeah, Pelagia is going to win, it's just a matter of time, right? The only hope that people have is to win before Pelagia decides to crawl out of the water, basically. So I think that's the mentality that people like Vanheim and Ulm are kind of having, is this idea of like, oh, well, we just got to win the game before Pelagia does the Pelagia thing, right? So in the meantime, we don't really have that option, so we are invested in the idea of greed for the next 20 turns, like, at least. So I am gonna continue to try to like raid, quote unquote Vanheim, and kind of keep conversations going and see kind of where things go. This would be, by the way, the turn where I could end my nap with Vanheim. And then we would have 6 turns. Turn 51, right? Would be the first turn that we could attack. I do think that we could potentially do that. That might actually be a good idea, especially if Ulm is actually going to get involved in the war at this point. I do think, obviously, Jotunheim is losing the raiding war, but they have had some pretty good victories. This is one of those tough decisions where I'm like, it's probably the right call is to make the tough decision and say, I don't want to fight, but I need to fight. And I have to hope by that point Ulm actually goes in. But I don't know that that's actually gonna happen. So I think probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to err on the side of caution, look for opportunities, and try to play that scale up concept, right? If we get lucky, we don't have multiple caps, right? But we do have the territory of basically 2 nations. So we're not super small. We're just not super big. If I am allowed time to scale up with a gem economy, though, I might be able to turn this into... So we'll see how that goes. I think that's probably about it. That's really the only stuff that's going on that I can really talk about at this current point in time. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.